Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Executive Director, UNOP, Robert Skinner.
Good afternoon. Come on, good afternoon. Come on. I just want to say that in our office, we take great pride and pleasure in collaborating with the Hult Foundation to support this event here at the UN headquarters. And it's truly an honor to welcome all of you to the United Nations for this event. And I just want to say happy 10th anniversary to the Hult Prize, truly celebrating a decade of impact, as it says around the room, and it really has been a decade of impact. And this is the second time I've been involved in the Hult Prize since taking over my current role at the UN Office for Partnerships. And I love this event. When I came for the first time last year, the energy is different than anything else that happens in the United Nations. And I credit the Hult Prize, the Hult family, and all the participants in the Hult Prize Award. So everyone should give yourselves a round of applause for being here. Because when I look around the room tonight, I'm filled with hope. Hope that today's youth, with their hope, with your hope, dedication and spirit for innovation are taking on the difficult social issues of today and come up with catalytic, long-standing solutions. Solutions that will impact your peers and your generations to come, really. Young people that will take up the mantle from all of you as we go forward. And I'd like to quote United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed from a comment she made earlier this year. And I quote, "We must do more to harness the potential of innovation and the power of restive youth. From technological innovations to new agricultural practices, young leaders are accelerating the Sustainable Development Goals implementation across the globe and finding new approaches to age-old development challenges." End quote. And as many of you, the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, or global goals, they come by different names, but we like to make sure that everyone is aware that they're out there because they present a universally endorsed framework for promoting a more sustainable, inclusive, peaceful, and prosperous future for everyone. And it's not an overstatement to say that the 17 Sustainable Development Goals represent a roadmap and guide for tackling the challenges of the 21st century, a roadmap for people and for planet. And indeed, the young leaders from the final 6 teams here tonight are providing a powerful example of how we should all be rising to these challenges. From Canada, Bangladesh, Uganda, Mexico, France, the Netherlands, Palestine, Guatemala, the United States, and other places I've undoubtedly missed. What did I miss? I hate when we do these lists because inevitably you miss something. Did I miss any countries? No? Wow, I covered it. Amazing. You're all here to deliver your pitch of a lifetime, but all of you have already demonstrated that with hard work, grit, and determination, you will make a tangible and positive impact on the world. We recognize the sometimes difficult journey you have all faced to make it here to today's finals, and we thank all of you for your incredible efforts. Regardless of tonight's outcome, you should all be extremely proud of yourselves. You have accomplished so much, and I am sure you will go very far. Never lose sight of your passion. You possess something that is going to make a difference. It is what landed you here tonight. Keep hold of that. More than ever, this world needs people like you. I'd also like to make a heartfelt thanks to Dr. Stephen Hodges, the president of Hult International Business School, and of course to Ahmad Ashkar, the founder, CEO, and mastermind behind the Hult Prize. Let's give both of them a quick round of applause. It's also a great pleasure to have the Hult family here with us tonight. Without their vision, continued support, and kindness, this event and competition would not be possible. Thank you. Of course, I'd like to express gratitude towards the esteemed panel of judges that we have. You'll meet them soon and hear from them through the course of the afternoon. This event is not possible without their dedication to this service, and we need to thank them as well. Judges, thank you. I'd like to give a special thanks to Annalise Eccles and her team for putting the production of this event together. This room looked entirely different yesterday, I can assure you of that. And all this is due to Annalise and her teams working hard to make it all possible. So thanks to them. And I would be remiss not to thank the UN Office for Partnerships team, Lucia, Kyra, Natalie, and Sui, who worked very closely with the Hult team to make sure that this event was ready to go when we all arrived today, and that hopefully everyone had their passes and were able to get in without issues. So thanks to them as well. At the UN Office for Partnerships, we believe that with just over a decade to achieve the 2030 Agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals, creative collaboration is the best catalyst to change and for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. As we get ready to embark on a decade of action, we know that we need collaboration to succeed, the kind of collective action that is so well demonstrated in this room today. The theme, "For Us, By Us," never seems so fitting. 6 teams from every corner of the globe, all working towards solving a global challenge, youth unemployment. And I realize that everyone is keen to begin the proceedings, so with that, I'd like to wish all the teams the best of luck and all of you an inspiring and memorable afternoon. And I would also like to now welcome to the stage Stephen Hodges, the president of Hult International Business School. Stephen.
Hey everybody. In the opening scene of the musical Hamilton, one of the characters introduces himself as the damn fool that shot him. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce myself to you as the damn fool that nearly killed the Hult Prize. When Ahmad came up with the idea 10 years ago, I never believed it could work. I didn't understand social entrepreneurship, and I thought that business school students who traditionally only wanted to enter investment banking wouldn't be interested in solving social issues. So I tried to kill off Ahmad's idea. But like any successful entrepreneur, Ahmad completely ignored me and invited every school on the planet to compete at our campus. When many accepted, I had no choice but to begrudgingly support his idea. However, as soon as I gave that opening speech at the first event 10 years ago, I realized what a mistake I'd made. And ever since that day, I have loved being part of the Hult Prize. I love it because of the energy. I love it because of the tension. But most of all, I love it because the Hult Prize changes people. It makes people dream again. It makes people want to come together to make the world a better place. And it encourages people to be entrepreneurs who never thought they could. This year's challenge is on youth unemployment. Youth unemployment is a massive social problem, not only because it is an utter waste that so many of this generation are idle, but also because youth unemployment is a significant driver of extremism. It is a problem that is close to my heart, because higher education is a key reason that youth unemployment exists. Millions of students are unable to get work, not because they didn't learn what they were taught, but because they simply weren't taught the skills that employers need. Why? Because higher education in general has failed to adapt to the massive shifts needed by today's employers. Behind the Hult Prize is Hult International Business School. We were founded 15 years ago with the simple aim of improving the way business is taught. Our education is designed to teach students the skills needed by employers, and because we all know that you only learn by doing, our education centers around putting theory into action. We support the Hult Prize because we see it as a vehicle for making this educational philosophy available to students freely around the world, no matter what their background. So whilst you may think of the Hult Prize as a competition, we think of it as far more than that. We think of it as amazing education. This year, over 120,000 students from all over the world have competed in the Hult Prize. Every single one of these students have learned to put classroom theory into practice. Every single one of these students has learned that business can be applied for good as well as for profit. And most importantly, all of these students have learned that they can make a difference in the world. I want to wholeheartedly congratulate Ahmad, Kareem, Nelly, CQ, and the whole Hult Prize team for an amazing 10 years. The success of the Hult Prize in terms of student engagement is simply staggering, and certainly far beyond what we could have imagined possible 10 years ago. Please join me in congratulating them. I always look forward to this event. It is such an awesome thing to be part of. But I'm sure I would feel very different if I was competing. For the 6 remaining teams, tonight is the Super Bowl, America's Got Talent, and the Nobel Prize all rolled into one. A chance to win $1 million and literally change the world. I have met every one of these teams at the Accelerator program. They are an amazing group of individuals. I know you'll be blown away by their presentations. So finally, teams, I wish you the best of luck. Please do try to enjoy yourselves. Everyone else, thank you very much for giving us your time. I know you are going to leave with a renewed sense of hope and optimism. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Head of Global Programs, Hult Prize Foundation, Nelly Andrade.
Good evening, everyone. I'm incredibly honored to be here today with my Hult Prize family, everyone here, and everyone watching online. Today, we have an outstanding panel of judges for what promises to be an amazing evening of inspiration for all of us. I'm going to now introduce our judges one by one, and I'm going to ask you judges to please stand up when you hear your name. Kathleen Rogers, longtime supporter. She has traveled the world for Hult Prize, 8-time finals judge, and one of our founders' best friends and closest allies. Kathleen is the president of Earth Day Network, and under Kathleen's leadership, Earth Day Network has mobilized over 1 billion people in 192 countries. Let's give Kathleen a big hand of applause. Erica Karp, named as one of the 50 conscious capitalists who are transforming Wall Street. She's founder and CEO of Cornerstone Capital, where she leads the company to catalyze the flow of capital towards a more regenerative and inclusive global economy. Please, let's give Erica a big hand of applause. Mr. Bashar Masri, a role model to all Palestinians, someone who has funded Hult Prize teams from Palestine to sponsor events, pay for kids' travel, and support them for business. Mr. Bashar, chairman of Masar International, a company he founded in 1995 to realize his vision of private sector development to serve as the path, Masar in Arabic, leading to Palestinian economic development and growth, including founding Rawabi, a brand new city built for Palestine. Thank you, Mr. Bashar, for joining us tonight. Up next, we have Mohammed Ashur, one of our closest friends, former $1 million winner for the Hult Prize, and my personal inspiration when I heard him speak more than 5 years ago in one of our regional summits in Boston. He is the CEO and co-founder of Aspire Food Group, a vertically integrated agriculture and food company that addresses global food sustainability by developing the most advanced insect farming technology in the world. Let's give a big hand of applause to Mohammed. Mr. Vinicius Pinheiro, Special Representative to the United Nations and Director of the International Labour Organization. Among his day-to-day responsibilities, Mr. Vinicius is representing the ILO in the United Nations discussions related to the post-2015 development agenda, social protection, youth employment, and migration. I couldn't think of a better judge for our challenge of creating 10,000 jobs for unemployed youth. Thank you for being with us today, Mr. Pinheiro. Liz Kingo, CEO and Executive Director of the United Nations Global Compact, the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative with more than 13,500 signatories from 170 countries that have committed to aligning strategies and operations with universal principles on human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption, and taking actions that advance societal goals. Let's give Liz Kingo a big hand of applause. And last but not least, we have Najiha Faroki, also known as Gia. Named the Forbes 30 Under 30 entrepreneur, Gia is the CEO and co-founder of Roshni Rides, the 2017 Hult Prize $1 Million champion. As the CEO of Roshni Rides, Gia leads this carpooling platform in Pakistan to bring optimized, safe, and reliable rides to women and children within the region. Since only 2 years ago when they won the Hult Prize, they've already done tens of thousands of rides for women in Pakistan in getting them to work. Thank you and welcome, Gia. And also joining us virtually, we have my personal mentor, former President of Mexico, Presidente Vicente Fox. He's a big supporter and philanthropist for the causes of youth, employment, and entrepreneurship. Please let's give President Vicente Fox a big hand of applause. You know, the Hult Prize would never be possible without the contribution of our judges. All of them are leaders in their fields, and they contribute their time to the cause of youth and entrepreneurship. And for this, I want to say thank you. So let's give a big hand of applause to our judges. Now, before handing off and continuing with the program, I'd like to share my personal Hult Prize journey. I started as a campus director in my university, Tec de Monterrey, and was one of the very first Mexicans to ever participate in this program. Every year, thousands of young people like me learn how to believe in themselves, communicate effectively, negotiate with stakeholders, and all these through their Hult Prize experience. I'd never imagined back then, more than 5 years ago now, that this program, this experience that I was doing as a volunteer, would lead me into a career into Hult Prize, where, thanks to the trust of Ahmed and the team, I've effectively become a leader in this organization who has witnessed exponential growth and also being humble enough to having the opportunity of growing the on-campus program from scratch that currently reaches millions of youth across all corners of the globe. So for these, I want to thank Hult Prize and Ahmed for believing in me and in the million of young people around the world who would otherwise never have known their potential, believed in themselves, or taking the steps to become part of the solution. But words can only explain this experience, while video can bring it to life. So for the past 5 years or so, we have also worked and seen Jacob and the Isimo team build a window that captures the Hult Prize movement for all of us. This is our story.
If you don't get people to believe that they can make our world a better place, you will not get the world to be a better place. I believe that the Hult Prize is changing the world.
It was 10 years ago where I was asked to come fly to Lucerne to meet Bertil Hult. And I pitched him this audacious idea that I would bring young people around the world together to think differently about how to use business as a force for good. And that idea was the Hult Prize. Here I am, this 20-something-year-old, no startup experience, no real track record, and a big idea that was designed to change the world. Sitting across the table from a billionaire who effectively could change my life. And he bet on me. He took a risk on me.
One of my friends once described Bertil as the patron saint of young entrepreneurs. The Hult Prize enables him to do that on a massive scale.
If you want people, especially young people, to do their thing, you have to let them try.
10 years later, we have taken a chance on millions of young people. That's what we do every single day. Because believing in a kid and inspiring them and changing them within is how you change the world.
I just remember us sitting there and thinking this was a transformative concept. You could actually build a for-profit business whose core objective is to eradicate some type of global issue. And that became what we all knew we were going to devote the next chapter of our lives to, win or lose the Hult Prize. And that's the beginning of Aspire.
Mohammed Ashur. I always get goosebumps when I share his story because they had this wild idea that you could use crickets to feed the world. I start thinking to myself, could this be the idea that validates the model of the Hult Prize? I won't forget it. Shabita, she was wearing this crimson dress, and she said, Aspire has found a new way to feed the world.
It's such a feeling of accomplishment and achievement.
On their way to a billion-dollar enterprise that's having a ripple effect on humanity around the world. He went to medical school to help thousands, and he leaves medical school to help millions.
Being able to truly see the real impact that the Hult Prize and we envisioned when we started the company.
If the Hult Prize was just this million-dollar startup competition, it wouldn't be worth it if there was no real impact on the ground. But that's what we're having every single day.
Until I started on this journey, I could never imagine that I could make as much a difference, which I have made. Right-sizing healthcare in urban slums.
The story of Manish and NanoHealth, who've gone on to rewrite the rules of healthcare, gives you an insight as to the power of the Hult Prize. We have tens of thousands of young people from India who have joined the movement only because this one startup emerged out of India.
I don't think anybody thought this would hit such a nerve with students and grow so quickly. That's the really impressive thing.
Young people, you want to wake up and change things, shake things up, go build something great. The Hult Prize makes you believe you can.
This has never really been about our legacy. It's been about the change in thinking it creates. It makes people see things and understand the world in a different way.
At no point did we think to ourselves, it's not possible just to build like real schools for these kids. And we had a meeting with a global VP from UNICEF. He just looks at me and he's like, absolutely no way it's gonna work, right? And then I was sitting there thinking, well, maybe he's wrong.
The power of this naive optimism that you have when you're young, and that's what changes the world.
We ended up going to the finals, having a school already built and running.
Taylor's company, Impact, is this game-changing coffee company building sustainable, world-class early childhood education.
Last year, we got an email from UNICEF inviting us to be on this new global task force for early childhood education. And he was like, guys, I don't know how you did it. Thank you for showing me that there was a way to do this.
He's gone on to mentor hundreds of Hult Prize teams. He was the early example of this community we've built.
I think Ahmad calls it the Hult Prize effect. They come into the competition, they compete, and then they go on to want to be involved and give up their time.
Without the support and dedication of tens of thousands of people, literally, the Hult Prize wouldn't be anything today.
It has created a community of very driven and passionate young entrepreneurs who really care about impact.
Wyclef and Sonia, heartfelt, driven youngsters, 19 and 20 years old, create this transportation company, which today, imagine, is the fastest growing transportation company in Africa, Bupass.
We won the Hult Prize, and it's not like you've won the $1 million and it's done. That's when the actual challenge starts. The scale that it can reach and the ways it can touch lives is what drives me and drives my passion for Bupass.
There is, yes, one winner who wins, but each year there are actually several businesses that come out of the Hult Prize.
In fact, we actually know two other teams that didn't win, and one of them got an investment of $2 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the other one recently just got an investment of about $800,000.
Russian rides were for Pakistani Americans who went back home.
We had incredible mentors and incredible coaches that brought us to this level, and as we're passing this on, it's creating a huge revolution.
It's like basically a revolution that's really starting within this organization and the people that they touch.
That's the perfect word for it, a revolution.
The most exciting part is I feel like we've built the world's largest impact-focused community.
The Hult Prize is starting to be a really powerful alumni network.
The Hult Prize alumni community will have people that go on to do absolutely amazing things for the world. They're just incredible individuals. We've always seen the primary measure as being the number of people who participate because we're teaching them about the role of business in society.
Not just to make money, to make our world a better place.
That is by far the biggest impact of the Hult Prize.
And that's why it's so important.
One of the times where it really hit me was right after we won. I flew back to Myanmar. One of the farmers came up to us. She told us that because of us, she had 6 months of income so that her daughter could go to school and so that she could feed her family.
Rice Inc., they've effectively reimagined the entire supply chain of fair trade rice.
That really hit us, to see the impact that you always talk about, but actually standing in front of you, thanking you for helping them, that's just a whole different experience.
Hult Prize has inspired a generation of youth to live a life of meaning. The whole energy gives you hope for humanity.
As I look back on the last 10 years, it's been an unbelievable journey that I wouldn't trade for the world.
To see this idea go from a really small little student competition to a global force has been, remarkable.
It's inspiring and it's changed the way I view the way I should run Hult. I see Hult Prize as being central to Hult International Business School.
But the Hult Prize has come to stay. That's nothing to do with me any longer.
In many ways, in any startup, the start is the hard part. And when you get to the stage we have now, that's usually when it can get really interesting and much more fun.
It all kind of comes back down to the simple idea. A young person with nothing more than an idea to change the world and the willingness to see it through. Standing there in front of somebody who can help make it real. Look at how taking that risk has paid off.
Many, many millions of people. It's not a million, many, many millions of people have been affected.
When you start talking about a community of millions, you now have enough people to build a future. That's what we're going to need as a society, and that's what makes the Hult Prize so special. To win wars, you need armies, and we've assembled the world's greatest army. Those young people are what have become the Hult Prize, leading a generation to change the world. Wow, it's incredible. 10-year journey, and I think I'm speechless that I could see this community grow and be visualized in such a way in just 10 minutes. It's 10 years of my life. Don't worry, just because I'm speechless, I've actually prepared notes today for the first time in I think 10 years since doing this. Before I go any further or say anything else, I want to thank my wife, Tanya. I'll embarrass her a little bit. When I started Hult Prize, my oldest son, Adnan, named after my father, who's also here that I want to thank, was just 1 year old. And today we have 4 children, beautiful children who've all grown up, effectively not seeing their dad half the year, because I do almost 200 days a year traveling every single year. Since we launched Hult Prize in 2009 to this year of 2019. But I'll tell you what, I probably would have traveled that much irrespective of whether I left Wall Street or not. I was a go-getter, an entrepreneur, a visionary, etc., like many of the people here today. What I can tell you that's special about the world of impact, that I think in a couple of words can describe what we hope to do and inspire for millions of young people around the world, is to make that time count. I've never once regretted being away from my kids, being away from my wife. And my wife and family, my mom, my dad, we're Palestinian, so big family, have never once said to me, don't travel, why don't you skip this trip? Because they understand the importance of the work and of the impact. And if it's one thing we can do and ask ourselves, is how can we leave more of that impact on more people? Because it's the one gift that can keep giving. And it's the one thing that you'll do at the expense of everything else while never having a regret. So everybody, welcome to the 10th annual Hult Prize Global Finals here at UN headquarters. I especially want to welcome our more than 30,000 on-campus program community of organizers. Imagine, guys, I know it says 25,000 in your books, but we've onboarded another 5,000 just in the last 60 days. We have them all online watching, and they're all hosting viewing parties of this event. The ripple effect of our impact is limitless, and I want to welcome all of you out there. And hopefully you're sharing these links right now. All the way from Palestine, Johannesburg. Again, my name is Ahmed Ashkar, CEO and founder of the Hult Prize. I think I'm the luckiest CEO in town right now, especially as the UN prepares for the GA. It's been a heck of a journey founding the Hult Prize over these past 10 years. And you saw Steve, Rob, Lucy, his name was mentioned from the UNOP, but tens of thousands of people have really come together to make the Hult Prize possible. And none of this would have been possible without the belief of the Hult family. It's very important for me to recognize Bertel, Philip, and the entire Hult family, and all of you here today. This was a family who bet on a 20-something-year-old Palestinian kid whose dad immigrated and parents immigrated with nothing to America. My mom doesn't even come to this event the same way she didn't ever come to any of my Friday night football games as an All-American high school football player in Kansas, because she's so darn worried about me. She just can't take the suspense. But this was a family who bet on an idea. And as we said in this video, that's what we're doing on all of you and the millions around the world. But just like we teach all of our entrepreneurs, the pillar for the Hult Prize, of course, the Hult family and the belief in the idea, but like we teach our entrepreneurs, it's that internal sponsor. And for us at Hult Prize, it was Dr. Stephen Hodges. God knows what he does for me and for us in those board meetings after we leave, and in those fights, and on the jets and planes, and he fights for us at the Hult Prize. He's been a personal mentor to me. So Steve, I can't see you out there, but there you are. I really want to thank you for fighting those battles on our behalf and on the behalf of all these youth, especially in the early years when nobody believed that a bunch of young people could go out and change the world through for-profit enterprise. So guys, please give Steve a round of applause. And a lot of people ask me about our start 10 years ago. I do also, and again, we'll get through the recognitions and the 10-year party here in a couple of minutes, and we'll get right to the action. But I think it's important because you guys have no idea how many no's we got before we got a yes. And again, to our entrepreneurs, you're probably going through that and feeling that. But two guys in my MBA cohort in 2009, I want to recognize, and both of them are here today. One of them used to run only operations, and I said to him always, Jose Escobar, if you're here, stand up while I tell a story about you. Jose, I used to tell Jose, here's my big idea, and then he would sit and figure out a way to get it done, and I would skip class as a student. And the second person that always helped me was Nabil. Nabil, I see you in the front row, Nabil Shashu. Nabil used to actually tutor me because I would miss the class. I would be busy building the Hult Prize, and Nabil would come over and give me the lessons of the classes that I missed. And those two were fundamental on the ground since day one. Even before you, Priya and CQ, was Jose and Nabil. And I want to thank them, and I want to recognize the entire class, our 2009 class and 2010 class at Hult International Business School, for helping us realize the Hult Prize. Thank you, guys. So, some of you out there, as we get closer to the pitch, Rutopia, you guys ready? We got a couple more minutes. Some people ask me, Ahmed, it's your 10-year. Congratulations, what's next? And some of you may have even come to this event and thought I'm going to announce my retirement. But guess what, folks? Staff, Hult's, family, Steve, and the UN, Rob, we're just getting started. Okay? 10 years, we've learned. And as we teach our startups, the first rule is to master the current game. We've spent 10 years understanding how to unlock hidden talent, solve social issues, and have an unlimited amount of impact on the world. Our next 10 years are going to be even more game-changing than our first 10, because we're going to take that learning and we're going to democratize the Hult Prize community. These numbers we're talking about that you see in your programs of 1 million, 250,000 participants, 30,000, nothing. We're going 100x over the next 10 years. And we're going to do it by introducing an entirely new generation to the ideology, fundamentals of impact. Not the type of impact you get when you attend a conference or you go to a summit and you talk the talk. We're going to show the world how to have impact the real way, by getting out onto the ground and taking unusual suspects, those in finance, those in Wall Street, those in industry, and turning their ideas into what they think capitalism should look like, into the new generation of impact. And I'm happy to say that I'm going nowhere, and we will continue to build out a 10 million strong network within my commitment within the next 5 years and beyond, to look at creating more of you, more Mohammeds, more Gias, more Taylors, more Wyclefs, more folks that in just, Mohammed Ashur sitting front row, he's a judge. In just 5 years, he's done more to his sector than any other CEO or founder. And all of the winners of the Hult Prize have those same stories. And I look forward to seeing all of you entrepreneurs, the final 6, tell their stories in years to come. So, as we continue the night, my challenge to you is to continue, all of you in the crowd and our entrepreneurs, be bolder, think bigger, and let there be no limit to the amount of impact that you can have. On to the show. So what's going to happen today? On tonight's agenda, we have 6 final startups. Each of them started their journey with the Hult Prize 12 months ago. I don't know why we ever designed the program the way we did, but our staff gets not even a day off, because we announce the challenge and celebrate the winner of the challenge all on the same night every single year. So for the last 12 months, the entrepreneurs you'll see in front of you have been working on new ways to tackle youth unemployment. And we've challenged them to say that solutions are not on the way. Government has tried, mostly failed. Industry has tried, mostly failed. And university is trying, but as Steve said earlier, oftentimes learning is not aligned with the skills required to seek out work. So those 12 months culminate tonight. 6 startups out of thousands who started around the world will pitch to you one at a time. They will have 6 minutes to present their ideas, which I'm very pleased to say this year, all of them have traction, revenue, and are already generating substantial impact. After the 6 presentations, each will have a 5-minute question and answer session. Something different we're doing today is that we've never done. We're going to also let the audience participate in the judging. So please make sure all of you have a voter card somewhere in your proximity. If you do not, don't panic. By the end of the 6 presentations, you will have one in your hand. And really think about who you would give the $1 million to on the criteria of, very simple criteria for our audience, of impact, team, radicalness of the idea, and the traction. Okay? Once the final presentations are over, we'll excuse our judges, we'll do some closing thank yous and remarks, and then we will ask you in the crowd today to cast your vote, which we'll give to Karim Samra and the entire judges team to help us come to a winner for tonight's $1 million Hult Prize. Following our activities in the EcoSoc chamber, we will move upstairs to DDR, where we'll have a closing reception, and President Clinton will join us for closing remarks and the issuance of the 2019 Hult Prize. Okay? Everybody ready? It's about showtime. And again, as Rob said, we bring a different level of energy to the UN than any other organization. So don't be ashamed, don't be shy. We want you to cheer, we want you to clap, we want you to get a little bit rowdy. If the UN security guys say, bring it down, bring it down. But again, we want to show these young people, not just here today, but all around the world that are viewing, as I understand, in more than 100 countries around the world, why we believe in youth and why we believe that the solutions to youth unemployment will only be solved by our youth today. So before we start, I'd like you to give all 6 finalists a very warm, long round of applause and some encouragement. Okay, judges ready? Judges ready? Muhammad, you guys ready? I know it's the hot seat. Muhammad Ashur told me before we started, he said, you know, I'm the only one who's actually served in more roles at Hult Prize than you. I've been a participant, I've been a judge, I've been a speaker, I've been an entrepreneur, so Muhammad, we're counting on you to lead that panel over there, all right? All right, folks, showtime. The first team we're calling to the stage. Again, Nelly started our Mexico impact about 5 years ago when we literally had, 2, 3 teams, a couple, handful of universities participating. And then we met this school, Tec Monterrey, who really went wild for the Hult Prize. And they started inviting me and the team every single year to Mexico until we decided we're going to open our whole full-blown office in Polanco. And we opened in Polanco in Mexico City, and then we went from 1,000 to 2,000 to literally, I think we had 20,000 or so participants coming from Mexico over the last couple of years. So naturally, you're going to have a finalist from Mexico. It's a numbers game. These guys, Diego, Leslie, Emilio, and Sebastian, on the first day of the accelerator, it's the barbecue welcome, say to me, hey, Ahmad, can we have 5 minutes? And I said, guys, the program starts tomorrow. Today is welcome day, barbecue. And they say to me, no, we need to meet right now. And I said, guys, what's the urgency? They had Airbnb on the phone. Airbnb was begging these guys for a partnership because of the uniqueness and the innovativeness of them restoring the travel industry, taking some of that business away from corporates and back to the indigenous people who live on beautiful blue oceans and white beaches, and returning some of that money back to the indigenous people. We ended up wiring up a deal with Airbnb a couple weeks later, and I told them halfway through the program, if they kept the momentum, that they were gonna be tough to keep out of New York. They kept me true to my commitment. I want to welcome to the stage from Tec Monterrey, Rutopia, as our first presenter of the 2019 Hult Prize.
3 years ago, we were walking beneath Mexico's tropical rainforest. We had been working with an indigenous village so they could become tour providers in their own hometown and not have to abandon their land to make a living. That day, we realized that what we were doing had the potential to change the lives of millions. Karen, the local guide, and a dear friend of ours came to us and said, Tushka Bim, a Mayan language phrase which means, where are we heading today?
38 million travelers visit Mexico each year looking for authentic experiences that could be provided by 5.4 million young indigenous Mexicans. However, most of the travelers end up in a place like this, a tourist trap. And the young indigenous Mexicans end up doing jobs like this. So what's the problem here?
Well, Indigenous villages from Mexico and around the world usually have everything they need to offer amazing touristic experiences. They have the nature, the culture, the local talent, and even the lodging. Thousands of them have already received funding and training from governments and NGOs to start ecotourism projects. But this is not enough. They also need to sell. And to do this, they need easy bookings and payments, efficient customer service, and be resilient to late and just-in-time payments. The problem is that they do not have access to this. And this is the reason they fail. This represents a $45 billion market opportunity, $1 billion market opportunity in one of the fastest growing industries in the world. We believe it is fair, and it is time they have access to this opportunity. And that is why we created
Rutopia. Now, Rutopia is a social business that empowers these indigenous youths to design and sell trips online, while making it easy for travelers to find and live these amazing and wild experiences. So, in other words, we're turning unemployed youth into successful touristic entrepreneurs in their own villages.
How? Well, first we create small touristic businesses of 12 youth in these villages. We name these Ruta Hubs. Then, using our trip design methodology, in 1 week, these Ruta Hubs are ready to deliver amazing travel experiences. Experiences that are unique, safe, and all-inclusive. Once a Ruta Hub is set, we take charge of selling their touristic offerings. Now, selling through multiple channels like Expedia and TripAdvisor is key for success, but it is not easy for them since they must be able to pay reservation software, to hire sales personnel, and to offer payment facilities. The fixed cost of providing this is too high, making it nearly impossible for small touristic projects to pay. But not anymore. Rutopia covers this for them by becoming their commercial engine. We do this by using our channel management software. And as we grow, economies of scale allow us to manage thousands of bookings across several platforms at very low costs. So Ruta Hubs can start receiving travelers using nothing more than just their phone, paying for these services only with each trip sold. We charge a 20% markup over every trip that we sell. Each Ruta Hub, receiving just 20 travelers per month, generates a monthly recurring revenue of $1,000 for Rutopia and $3,000 for its community.
Today, we have replicated our model in 12 communities that have received more than 300 travelers, reaching an almost perfect 5-star rating, and generating employment for 140 young guides. During the Hult Prize Accelerator, we sold $35,000 in trips. Rutopia's model is ready to scale. We reach new communities through NGOs and governments. We're partnering with 2 Mexican ministries to activate 252 Ruta Hubs by 2020. With a small investment, we can replicate our model in different regions and use the power of network effects to guarantee quality. So, by 2022, we will have created 800 Ruta Hubs, 10,000 jobs for the youth, and a yearly revenue of $10 million.
Now, we realized that to reach these goals, we would have to partner up with the global leaders in experiential travel. And that's why we are happy to announce our official alliance with Airbnb to launch together Airbnb Village Adventures. It is a joint effort to allow indigenous villages in Latin America to reach travelers from all around the world. We're going to make it as easy to book a 2-day experience in a Mayan village in the middle of the jungle as it is today to book a tour here in New York. And this disruptive change is going to turn thousands of unemployed youth into tourism entrepreneurs that do not only get a job, but become job creators. And then they start feeling proud of the culture and the nature they own, and therefore they protect it. We see it happen every day in the communities we work with, and it is the reason why we're here standing today asking for investment. Because the question today is not if this kind of travel is possible or not, because the market need is there, the communities are ready, and we are a team with the skills and the method to turn this opportunity into a huge social business. So the question today really is, Tushka Bim, where are we heading today? Thank you.
Great.
Great job. Go ahead. Vanessa, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. That was incredible. So let's say you are really successful in your model, and you get all the tourists that are going to Cancun, the millions of them, and now they'll be redirected to these amazing sanctuaries. So there will be a kind of massification of tourism. So how do you reconcile this potential increase, expansion of tourism with preservation of environment, of culture, and even of health issues? How to do this reconciliation?
Thank you for that question. Can I get slide 42, please? Yes, so as an environmental engineer, I am very concerned about this as well. We consider our model to be regenerative because it is important to note that in most indigenous communities in Mexico and in Latin America, they're under extractive systems. Call it mining, call it cattle breeding, or palm oil production. What we're giving is an opportunity to develop not only in a sustainable way, but in a regenerative way, because they're making an income by preserving their culture and their nature alive. Now, to mitigate the negative impacts, we do different things. We always calculate the carrying capacity in the communities, and we aim for quality over quantity. So when we start getting more demand in a community, we're gonna higher the prices to keep the balance on the ecosystem and in the local place. And also, we only use local inputs in each of the communities we work. Thanks.
Go ahead, Erica.
So first of all, I think this is fantastic because something like a quarter of the global economy touches tourism, so great. That said, it is a managerial challenge, for even seasoned managers. So you talk about safety, you talk about service. How do you plan to manage a group where you need to think about incentivization, you need to think about accountability? So managerially, how are you going to do this?
Yes, thank you. So a very important aspect is that we need to take care that all these experiences meet the safety and the quality requirements. So first of all, for the quality, we develop our process, which is this activation methodology that we've been developing for 2 years. With this, we make sure that they meet certain requirements. Then we do a pilot trip. In the pilot trip, we detect some simple flaws and we correct them. And then the community of travelers is in charge of, always gives feedback from the travelers, and we take this feedback, we synthesize it, and give it back to the communities, so they can keep improving this and meet the quality standards. Regarding, yes?
Kathleen?
Just along those lines, you've done 300 trips to date, but yet in just a few years, you're going to go at least 200 times that many, thousands and thousands of trips. Why do you have to grow so fast?
Yes, so our value proposition for these communities is the channel management, their commercial side. So with the 11 communities, 12 communities, with the ones we work with right now, we've seen that it's a very simple process for us to be able to manage their bookings. So we see that with our channel management, we could have the capacity to manage thousands of bookings. So this way, we can decentralize tourism and help many, many communities. We aim for helping working with many communities instead of just few ones. Yes?
Bashar?
Have you thought of dealing with the fear of the traveler to go to remote areas, the perception at least that it's not so safe, and maybe reality in some cases?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Can we get slide 49, please? Safety is one of our value propositions, also because Mexico has a perception that it can be a very unsafe place. Can we get slide 49, please? So we have 5-step methodology to ensure safety. First of all, we are mapping we have criteria. One of them is that we only work in safe places. Then we do background checks to all our hosts and guides. And then we do a verification and validation trip where we verify that all the information provided is truthful and that the area is also safe. After this, we're also giving customer support, so our traveler gets safe from to his guide, and in there he will be taken care by the locals. And we also offer insurances for our travelers. Before traveling with us, you get a guide, and then you will be told who's your guide, how to contact them, an exact meeting point, so we're always accompanying our travelers along all the process.
Great. Help me give a warm round of applause for Rutopia. What'd you guys think of the first one? Rutopia. Give it another warm round of applause for them. Great job. Great job. Okay, team one, done. 5 more to go. This next team is a first for us. The captain of this team, there's a great story behind it, and I don't want to run us so late, but I just have to share a little bit of it. Was a campus director at the Hult Prize, one of our very best campus directors, top 20 around the world. Helped us bring Hult Prize to Palestine. One day, Ayman calls me, who runs our Middle East business, and says, Amin quit. And I said, what do you mean Amin quit? You know, I had big plans for Amin, etc. And I said, I have no idea. Ayman says he has no idea. And it turned out the reason why he quit is because we have a rule. If you're a campus director, you can't compete in the Hult Prize. So after a year, he didn't tell me for a year, I find out that Amin and his team are participating in the Hult Prize as competitors. They go on to lose, 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 and then win, win, win in wild cards, winning their spot all the way here into New York. And the thing that was astonishing is as you look back, and I ask Amin, you know, what was it about your experience with us that changed your life? And he said, you guys give me the first internship that I ever had. And before you, I just thought I had to study, and then go get a job. And that internship changed my life. And TollabCo was born. So with that, Amin, bring your team out, and let's hear from TollabCo, the first Hult Prize finalist ever from Palestine.
These are the hopeful faces of Palestine, doing what it takes, continuing their studies, graduating with honor, and finally, here. Civil unrest, no hopes, no opportunities. We are the lucky ones who beat this system, a broken system between education and careers, where 20,000 hours of learning leads to almost nothing by age 22. We graduate with no experience, no connection, and no confidence. And to have a job, you need experience. And to have the experience, you need a job. The system has created the largest youth unemployment rates in the world. And this created not only an economic crisis, but many social crises like extremism between youth in the region. So what is the solution? Internships. Yes, internships. This word might be a word you are familiar with. 99% of our students never had an internship. The concept of internships does not exist where we come from. One internship flips the equation of your future. That's why we are so excited today to introduce you to TollabCo. TollabCo, the first pathway in Palestine for students to gain meaningful jobs while studying and after graduating. Let me tell you how TollabCo works. First, we enter a university with a representative person to start onboarding the students on the platform. Then, we go to the around market to reach employers and start receiving job orders. And finally, we match these orders with the suitable students. We started at our university in Palestine in March, and today, we work in 5 universities and have matched 450 students with more than $60,000 were generated by these disconnected students. Now they are connected. They work, study, and gain a practical experience at the same time. We changed their lives forever. As only 30% of our students get jobs after graduating, TollabCo made it 70%. One of them is Najm. Najm, a civil engineering student who would be now searching for any job in Palestine. We provided him an internship, and now Najm works in one of the biggest construction firms in Dubai. Believe me, this is not normal. We are driven by such impact. Najm and 10,000 students joined TollabCo to have the financial support, the practical experience, and the path discovery while studying
ending up with full-time jobs after graduating. Not only this, from the employer's side, we gained the trust of the biggest telecom in Palestine. We also work with the startups and organizations by providing them an easy reach to the students to recruit the best fit for their short and long-term jobs. And now, Rola, could you please tell us about the business side?
Sure, Ahmed. Regarding our revenue model, we get paid from the employer per match, and students get paid from the employer directly. As for students, every student like Uraib gains an average of $400 per month, and it's enough to cover college and life expenses. In terms of business, what we are doing is not foreign, as we can find job teaser in Europe and way up in the USA with more than 1 million opportunities for a student. So, we are bringing a proven concept with a proven business model to the Middle East, focusing on the disconnected youth. And by growing day by day, we close new partnerships to help us to reach more students and employers. The biggest 2 partnerships were made last month with the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Higher Education, which expanding our network in a magnificent way and reduce the customer acquisition cost. We grew up from 500 to 80,000 employees in just a week. Isn't this crazy?
Crazy.
When we started, there was nothing called internships in our country. Today, we are proud to announce that we are the official government partners to provide internships in Palestine. The good thing is, thank you. The good thing is the opportunity extends beyond Palestine. As we can see here, the promising impact in terms of student numbers and market opportunity in each country of the Middle East. As our network grows, so our profit. We break even in year 2 with more than 27,000 internships. We start expanding out of Palestine by the beginning of year 3. And by the 5th year, we are making $12 million of profit with more than 500,000 opportunities of internships. All of this would not happen without a great team. We are the best team to execute. All of our team members are students who are suffering from the system and passionate to contribute. Investing the $1 million in us is changing the face of unemployment in the whole region. With more than 200,000 empowered students, 84,000 full-time jobs, and 60% violence reduction between our youth. At the end, TollabCo is not a response for a challenge. TollabCo is a response for an entire generation, doing the right things, continuing their studies, graduating with honor, and waiting. And waiting for your support to be here. So join us.
Yalla.
Yalla.
Great job, Amin, Rola, Tariq, and Ahmed from Bir Zayt University. Internships, huh?
Internship. Yes, yes.
Okay, who's first? Muhammad?
Congratulations on all your traction. One of the strengths of your business model is that you're taking an already proven concept and applying it in a different culture. But that can sometimes be a challenge because if there isn't already a cultural acceptance of the concept of internships, you may face challenges having to educate employers on the value of internships. So how do you anticipate addressing that concern?
Yeah, actually, this is one of our main challenges, and this is why we need the 1 million. Half of our marketing budget is going for awareness because this is a new concept, so we need to aware students and employers about how beneficial and how important is to take an internship. Thank you.
Go ahead, Gia.
So one of the challenges of building a distribution channel like yours is to make sure that there's training material or skills development around the program. So what are you guys doing to ensure that?
Actually, 8% of our revenue of our $1 million is going for trainings and events, and we have made until now 3 events for students and employers, and they went very successfully.
Thank you. Erica, and then Kathleen, if we have time, Bashar.
So first of all, this is just beautiful. It solves so many problems. That said, I would want to understand, where is your competitive advantage? Why is it that somebody can't replicate this? And assuming they can't, Is it about how fast you hook up with employers and everything else? Or what is it? What protects you?
Actually, we have a simple business model that can be replicated easily, but the thing that we have the most aggressive and low-cost reach to students, as we are following Hult Prize strategy and network. And also, we are the best to do this because we are students. We know better than everyone how to deal with students. That's it.
Kathleen?
Yeah, so 2 questions. One is, given the travel restrictions and political situation, how do you ensure that you can find enough jobs? And then secondly, what are these jobs? Are they generally minimum wage? Are they, what's the quality of the jobs, and are they permanent full-time jobs?
For now, we don't accept any job, any internship request passed through a filtration process, which talks about the type, the purpose of the internship, the duration, and the reputation of the company. So it's like if you want an accountant, I will send you an accountant. I don't work for now with retails, like we don't give sales now, but for the future we will work to make it better and better as we're learning every day about this. Regarding the political issue, until now we didn't face any political challenges because we're not giving international internships, we're giving local internships inside our country only.
Bashar?
Guys, this is great, but as you know, I hire a lot of people in Palestine.
Yeah.
Tell me why I cannot go directly to the universities and hire directly and rather go through you and pay you.
Thank you. If you go to the university, you will have limited options as an employer, or you have to go to more than one university, and this will be not efficient. Also, if the university will serve, they will serve 1 or 2 employers, but they can't serve 100 employers because they need a system and they need a team. And we are here, we are doing partnerships with all the universities in Palestine, so they are using us. Thank you.
Liz? You have a customer there.
So how are you putting your project into the bigger perspective of the Sustainable Development Goals that we have very much on the agenda here at the UN? I mean, how is your project contributing?
I love this question. Okay, actually, let me tell you something. Internships are not only providing jobs. Internships are preparing an entire generation to be change makers like all of us here today. I created my startup because of an internship. Ahmed created the startup because of an internship. And internship can create can create leaders and presidents. Mr. Bill Clinton took an internship with the Senator William Fulbright before becoming a president. Thank you.
All right, give it up for TollabCo. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Just absolutely amazing to see what these young people can come up and do. Thank you so much, guys, at TollabCo. All right, 2 down, 4 to go. Everybody having a good time? Great. We're going to pick up the pace with this next team, and that's the proper, I think, transition to pick up the pace. From HEC Paris, this was a team, unarguably one of the, if not the crowd favorite at our accelerator this summer. I first met Tommy and Lulu. They were late. They came to the accelerator 2 or 3 days late, and I honestly didn't know who they were. And frankly, when they told me that their startup had to do with insects, I wasn't that excited because we had Aspire Food Group who won Hult Prize just 6 years ago. But it turns out that insects for animal feed could in fact be sexy, but it could be made real when you have a team of, I don't think, better cohesiveness and entrepreneurs that have come together to restore the ability to come up with new, affordable food sources for our world, not for human consumption, but for animal consumption. So with that, I want to welcome Team Protein to the stage.
My country, Uganda, has an average age of 15.2. an unemployment rate of 64%. It is the 6th fastest growing country in the world. Unfortunately, these are common statistics across Africa. Intense urbanization and rural-urban migration is creating extreme pressure on our cities, where landfills and food systems are reaching maximum capacity. But what if Africa's growing organic waste burden was the key to unlocking thousands of meaningful youth jobs and feeding millions?
Our journey began in Uganda. We met farmers like Odia. Odia is a mixed farmer, meaning he relies on coffee, poultry, and bananas to generate multiple revenue streams for his family. However, Odia was facing serious problems on his farm. First, he had unused organic waste piling high. Second, his crops were suffering because he could no longer afford fertilizer. And third, most shocking to us, was we saw rows and rows of empty poultry cages. Why were his poultry cages empty? Odia explained to us that he relies on fish meal from Lake Victoria to feed his poultry. However, due to an overfishing crisis across East Africa, fish meal is permanently scarce and overpriced. So much so that the Ugandan government recently launched a navy to protect the silverfish population. Now, Odia is not alone. 7 out of 10 Ugandans are mixed farmers, and they, alongside the 475 million smallholder farmers across the world, urgently need new sources of animal feed.
And that's where protein comes in. We use an incredible natural resource, the black soldier fly insect, to transform organic waste into sustainable protein and fertilizer. Let's take a look at how this works on Odia's farm. Odia's once unused organic waste can now be fed to the black soldier fly larvae. In only 2 weeks, he has a rich and protein-dense source of animal feed for his livestock. And the only byproduct of this entire process is organic fertilizer, which increases the yields of his coffee and bananas, starting the entire process once again. We were so excited about this that we convinced the Dutch government to grant us $100,000 to prototype our first farm, where we have co-created do-it-yourself kits so that youth, like Odia, can create their own protein and fertilizer. And protein is a game changer. His feed is now 23% cheaper, and his chickens love it too. They eat more, they lay more eggs, and they grow fatter, earning Odia an additional $57 a month, meaning that his 2 children can now go to school. But Odia is the first of many youth we impact. We are excited to announce that JDE, the second largest coffee company in the world, just invested $30,000 to sponsor 400 kits, creating 400 new jobs.
And this inspired us to go bigger. Just like how Odia has unused organic waste on his farm, so too does the city generate tons and tons of organic waste. So we started to dream. What if Kampala's organic waste burden could become its greatest asset? This Wednesday, we signed a partnership with the Ugandan government for 18 months of free land lease and free direct access to organic city waste. In exchange, we reduced our cost of transportation by 87%, and our first farm will process 4% of Kampala's city waste. But what's even more revolutionary, we can take any unused warehouse in any rapidly urbanizing city, anywhere in the world, and transform it into a protein farm. Each farm will employ 235 youth and generate $72,000 of monthly revenue.
In order to create jobs for peri-urban and urban youth, we have developed a 2-part business strategy. First, our do-it-yourself kits for mixed farming youth. And second, our protein farms, where we create high-quality protein and jobs for urban youth. And the youth love working with us, because unlike traditional agriculture, we offer them bi-monthly income, They can live where they want, and most importantly, they are part of the protein revolution, transforming their cities and communities. We are a team of 19 experts in social innovation, agribusiness, and biosystems engineering, and we are ready to scale. We are backed by the Ugandan and Dutch government, the world's leading agricultural university, and the largest feed mixer in Africa. And this week alone, we signed $25,000 in pre-orders from farmers.
Today, we have shown you a market demand, a scalable business, and proven traction on the ground. But we are here to ask for your support. Join us to tap into a $295 billion animal feed industry while creating 46,000 meaningful jobs for youth. With your support, this business is ready to fly.
Bobby, you got to get in on that hug over there. So great job, Bobby, Ale, Tommy, Lulu. Right on time. All right, who's going to start us off? Mohammed, do you want to take the first question? No? Gia?
So the business model you've explained has a really complicated supply chain. So can you walk me through your supply chain and the costs associated with it?
So our first partner is Kautais. Kautais is the largest distributor of animal feed in the world. So in Uganda, they have 26 distribution centers alone. We have a partnership with them, and they'll be distributing our product to the high-end quality market. For the other one, it's do-it-yourself kits. Lulu, would you like to explain about do-it-yourself kits?
Sure. So for do-it-yourself kits, our cost of production is $67, and we sell these to youth, including training, for $81. Whilst the profit for us for the kits is rather small, we do this as a development business model, and ultimately our 3-year vision is to actually buy back their crops and their chicken.
Okay. Liz?
Yeah, so what's your estimate of the potential for your business idea to really scale up and help create a quite needed transformation in this space?
So within 10 years, we expect to create 46,000 jobs. That's with 123 warehouses, making $120 million in revenue. But what's more, if we can take a warehouse, which is an empty shell basically for our technology, we can do that along cities. What we're aiming to do in 3 years, we want to make specialized warehouses, and each warehouse would have its own function. And through that, within a city, you can have a conglomerate which would rapidly urbanize and process waste.
Mohammed?
I have 2 questions, but I'll ask one, and if there's more time, I'll ask the second. One of the big challenges in this space is that to really get to scale, centralization becomes important, and automation is integral. At least this was the case that we've seen in our experience, and all of the leading black soldier fly companies in the world rely extremely heavily on centralized automation. So given that your process is actually decentralized and is very manual labor dependent, how do you expect to compete against those companies?
Okay. So how do we expect to compete? So firstly, it's our partnerships. We have partnerships across the board, so from implementation phase to research and development phase and to off-taking phase. We do understand there are other black soldier fly companies, like in Africa, AgriProtein is the largest one. We are based in a region where the black soldier fly can thrive between 27 and 32 degrees, and we want to make a low-tech solution for this kind of environment. In the future, we understand that automation is required. For example, for the breeding process with the eggs, that is really where we see automation paying off, and that can bring efficiencies towards the rest of the supply chain. But otherwise, we're looking at a low-tech solution, using the crates, using manual labor, where we take warehouses. And these warehouses aren't so big. Our warehouses range from 490 square meters to 1,000 square meters, but we see it in multiple locations.
Okay, Erica?
This is probably an ignorant question, but you're taking waste from urban organics and flies and larvae and, good stuff. Is there any safety risk or disease risk or anything we need to know about there?
Yes, that's a great question. So we get our waste pre-sorted from the municipality, KCCA, and they give it to us, like we said, because we're able to reduce their overhead costs from reducing their transport from 30 to 3 kilometers. So the waste is pre-sorted. That's the start. Also, we're partnered with ECPay, so they give us full quality assurance and testing on our products to maintain quality assurance. But what's really, really incredible about this insect, if you look it up, you'll see a lot of traction with Bill Gates and the World Bank for its antimicrobial properties. So the insect itself has been used for fecal waste management and is known for decontaminating and detoxification.
Okay, go Vinicius. Please hold your applause, folks. Hold your applause.
Yeah, so just the last question. When you Google black soldier fly larva, the thing that you got is how to get away with it, how to avoid a kind of a pest, how to avoid it, it will destroy your plantation, something like that. So how can you contain these risks now?
So we should mention that we propagate only the larvae. We create a 3% mother stock to repropagate the larvae, but the flies themselves do not sting, they're not pests, and they are not vectors, so they do not carry any diseases, which is a huge advantage to this fly.
Okay, 10 seconds left. It's not enough to get a question in. Thank you guys so much. Please congratulate Team Protein. Our next team, now that we're halfway through, is a team which I think exemplifies everything we teach within the Hult Prize Accelerator. We push them very hard over our 5-6-week program. You can see all the details in your programs today. But one of the things we ask them to do is make sure they have knowledge, product, market, and of course stickiness. And this team had a significant pivot about halfway through the Accelerator program, and our selection of them here to this stage was a result of how much progress they were able to make in such a short period of time. Since pioneering their product only 3 weeks ago for a commercial basis, they've already got the likes of Ogilvy One and others after them to discuss potentials for partnership and vendor agreements. Now, Phonic is a team which is reinventing the way data is collected and how we can potentially, as a youth community, move some of the $70 billion every year, which is spent on data collection, into the hands of young people all around the world. So help me welcome to the stage Phonic from the University of Waterloo in Canada.
Thank you. Doing good? Let's do it.
Driverless trucks, robotic factories, automated call centers. As mechatronics engineers, these are the kinds of technologies that my colleagues and I spent our last 5 years learning how to build. Now, don't get me wrong. We love robots, and we find technologies like this really exciting. But it always bothered us that the more we drive our careers forward in this sector, the more people we push out of work. So that got us thinking. We believe that the most impactful technologies of the 21st century aren't those that take jobs away from hardworking people. Instead, they're innovations that amplify people's strengths. And this is exactly what Phonic is all about. Unlocking human potential using technology. We're doing this by reinventing market research and the way companies interact with their customers. Phonic is market research at scale, powered by a global network of youth and enabled by AI. Our platform is simple. Youth record, Phonic analyzes, and together we deliver high-quality market research reports to our enterprise clients. But before getting too far, let's have a look at how market research is typically done. Focus groups, online surveys, and travel are contrived, impersonal, and expensive. They all have shortcomings.
So how does Phonic differ from these methods? Well, Phonic analyzes the most human form of communication, speech. We all know that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And one study found that 38% of communication is in tone of voice. And despite the market research industry being worth $76 billion, almost no methods collect this data. However, recent advancements in artificial intelligence have for the first time made it possible to understand qualitative audio data at scale. So this is where we stand. One, there's a need to reform how we do market research. 2, we're in the midst of an AI boom. And 3, there are millions of unemployed, disconnected youth around the globe who lack opportunities. We are at a nexus, and this is why we created Phonic. Phonic is the only market research tool that collects and analyzes thousands of real voices, empowering businesses with a better understanding of how their customers actually feel.
So let's take a look at how Phonic actually works. This is a real company, and this is real youth that we're impacting. On the left, we have the T1 agency. They're a major marketing firm in Toronto, and they're frustrated with traditional techniques for their lack of real-time qualitative insights. They're trying to better understand the relationship between consumers and impact brands, brands with a social or environmental mission. Over here, we have Aaron. He's excited because for the first time, he has this opportunity to build soft skills while earning an income using just the phone in his pocket. The process starts by understanding T1's research needs and goals. They want qualitative answers, so we'll draft qualitative questions. Then we deploy these questionnaires directly to youth like Aaron, who are paid to guide people through interviews and record the audio. Now, before even beginning the questionnaire, we equip Aaron with background info about the industry at hand and help boost his soft skills with tips like conversation steerings and the like. Now, the magic's here. Aaron isn't the only one doing this. There are thousands of conversations happening like this in parallel. And with so much data, trends emerge. And this is where AI is specifically suited to extract these trends much faster than anybody else could. Finally, the last step of the process is packaging these insights and delivering it to our client, T1, in an intuitive dashboard. Here, they can see aggregate data analytics at a high level per question, while also zooming in and listening to the individual voices of consumers for extremely rich ground-level insights.
Our business model is simple. On one side, we have our enterprise clients, and on the other, a distributed youth workforce. We deploy questions to the workforce, analyze the responses, and sell powerful analytics to our customers. Now, these businesses are excited about Phonic, but we're equally excited about our impact. We are giving youth a 21st century skill set. Verbal communication is often cited as the most important skill for employment, but it doesn't stop there. Our platform explicitly teaches these other skills through our training programs, including market research experience, interpersonal skills, and allowing youth to gain valuable industry insights.
Remember the example with Aaron and the T1 agency? Well, they're not alone. Today, we've had over 1,000 signups on our website from youth around the world. They are so excited to see how Phonic can help them build skills and earn an income. But it doesn't stop there. We've been in conversation with some of the biggest players in the game, from food multinationals to media giants and large consumer brands. Absolutely everyone is interested in how Phonic can provide them with better consumer insights. We're excited to be running 5 demos with the companies you see on screen, and there are many, many more to come. Now, we have the ideal team for the job. Collectively, we've worked at some of the biggest and brightest tech companies in the world, giving us the skills to quickly develop and scale our technology global. We also have mentorship in market research and education. Now, Phonic isn't just about improving upon existing market research techniques. It's about being on the forefront of a new paradigm. We're here today asking you guys for $1 million so we can reinvent the way companies interact with consumers. With this investment, we will immediately employ thousands of youth. We will rigorously validate our technology with academic and industry partners, and we will rapidly invest in our training program development. So join us and provide jobs in market research for thousands around the globe. We are Phonic, powered by youth and enabled by AI. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Great job, guys. Erica?
I think this is a lovely idea, but I think you might have no idea what's in front of you in terms of competitive market. So if we have billions of dollars going to AI companies that from a more traditional stance are doing natural language processing, and they have all that data, and then they can throw up some voice recognition on top of that, and they have, again, Silicon Valley backing. How are you going to possibly get this going?
Yeah, so our machine learning is obviously very, very core to what we do. A lot of people give us the question, well, what are you doing that Google NLP can't? Most of the companies in this space, through speaking with our clients, do transcription and then NLP analytics. So for non-machine learning engineers, that means taking all the information out of the audio, bringing it into text, and then running analysis on that. We are audio specialists, and we build unique models on audio data.
Okay, we'll go to Vinicius, and then we'll come back.
So thank you so much. So another day I learned that Alexia is doing the same as you are proposing, but from our places without consulting us. But the question is, so why do you need humans to capture the voice? Actually, in the future, all this research and survey methods could be automated as well.
We thoroughly believe in the magic of human potential. So our business is about unlocking what humans are best at, human interactions. And we really believe that these human interactions are core to getting good market research data. We've talked to people who have run focus groups, and it's really important in the focus groups when they're collecting qualitative data to have that human interaction to tease out certain answers to give these market insights.
Okay. Let's go, Gia.
So at Roshni Rides, we've been developing an algorithm for over a year, and it takes a lot of high product costs. You have three major cost-centric parts of your business model, including product development, training, and the salaries. So can you explain to me the use of your if you were given the $1 million today?
Yeah, sure. I'll speak to that a little. So we're actually the youngest company here, and to be fair, we're not fully certain on the spend of the $1 million. But we have an advantage, and that's that we know that the Hult Prize administers this in tranches of around 200,000 at a time. And this first investment will be sort of evenly split. 1 quarter goes directly into the pockets of our researchers so that we can collect data that allows us to publish industry reports. These are reports that capture the attention of a large audience of businesses and draws them into our sales funnel. More of that, another quarter of that goes into research and development, validations of our models academically, and just to reiterate, like, we're the ones that have been developing the technology so far, so we know exactly where we'll have to spend the leftover money to actually develop the product. And of course, spending on learning and training programs, which we're partnering with universities for that.
Liz?
Does your project have a sort of transformational power that can do more than hire young people? I mean, what's your idea about contributing to creating a more sustainable world?
It's a great question. I think at a high level, Phonic's vision is about reinventing how companies interact with their customers, and more specifically, how they understand their customers. So Phonic is not just an audio analytics company. What we want to do is basically institute a new paradigm in market research, where instead of paying a few high-profile market research companies, large contracts, you're actually asking tens of thousands of people. And so if we're successful, there'll be copycats. This model will be replicated, where basically distributing your work and having a focus group with 10,000 people will be how it's done, because it will have to be how it's done in order to be competitive. So really, this is going to be a new paradigm in market research.
Bashar?
You mentioned that you are doing a demo with a number of reputable firms. Can you tell me how long ago did you start these demos, and for how long they're supposed to be last as demos? Is there a time frame or a milestone for those demos?
Yeah, so we have secured all those demos within the last 2 to 3 weeks. Our timeline is a bit sort of fuddled right now because of all the sort of Hult preparations. But currently we have sort of a 2-week timeline. So basically how our sales works is we get someone on a call, we demonstrate our technology, and then invite them to participate in a free trial where they can actually basically have the research questions answered. And that process right now takes about 2 weeks. We're hoping to get it down to just 24 or 48 hours because we can do that.
Kathleen?
So my organization does a lot of polling, and so I agree about the human interaction. The only question I have is, the difficulty we have is getting lists and having people actually answer. Where do you get the people that you're calling, and who provides those to you?
So our users come predominantly from Facebook advertising, online advertising, and
Time. Thank you guys so much. Give it up for Phonic.
Thank you, Mark.
Was that good enough? Kathleen, was that good? Facebook advertising. All right, folks, 2 to go. Is everybody taking notes? Our online community, you guys out there, just type in the box. Don't forget to follow me at Mayor of Impact. Okay, put that on the webcast, please. I like that name. Thanks to our Mexican friends at Tech who gave me that. All right, next up, how many of you have eaten sushi this week? Show of hands. Show of hands. Bring them up. Okay, I would say about half the room. How many of you know that the average piece of fish in North America and South America that you eat at a sushi restaurant travels 17,000 miles before it ends up on your plate? Crazy, right? I think the team that you're about to see present Tuna Art not only saw this as crazy, also saw it as an opportunity, because off the coast of Guatemala, you have a very healthy tuna fish reserve. And you probably are wondering how many youth in Guatemala fish tuna in this super booming, vibrant industry. 0. So Alberto and his team from UFM Guatemala came up with an unbelievable way to bring fresh tuna to the local markets while employing youth. I'm excited to learn more about their startup, as I'm sure you are. Tuna Art, please make your way to the stage.
We are Tuna Art. Our journey started 1 year ago by finding out that our local people in coastal communities were not being able to find market value for the most abundant resource, tuna. This led them to live in misery. These same situations replicates among all Latin American countries. Misery didn't stop others from taking advantage. $122 million, that's the yearly extraction from international vessels in our regional's exclusive economic waters. Illegal extraction happens all around the world. 30% of the global tuna supply is being illegally caught, without no concern for the environment or law. Fresh yellowfin tuna consumption is growing really big and really fast across the Americas. $2 billion. That is the number being imported every year in fresh tuna in America and these regions. Today, 90% of this demand is being supplied all the way from Southeast Asia. Asia is really far away. This leads to a really inefficient model where the average tuna being served at an American restaurant has traveled 17,000 kilometers and has been frozen for more than 14 months. Time and distance compromises quality, freshness, and price. That's the moment we realized. We had two disconnected markets. Local fishing communities not being able to supply a big and growing market like food service companies and restaurants. Instead, these companies are relying on imported product. In the last 17 years in Guatemala, fish consumption has increased 200%, while at the same time, local fish consumption has increased 200%, and local fishing industry has decreased 50%. Lack of infrastructure, knowledge, and skills is killing the local fishing industry. Oceans of opportunity in these regions. Yet not a single local job of tuna fishing is being generated. Youth are no longer fishing. They're relying on migration and, even worse, on crime and violence to make a living.
But the opportunity is not migration or crime. The opportunity is right in their local waters. We are going to disrupt today's tuna commerce and fishing dynamics. We are Tuna Art, and we are creating meaningful jobs for disconnected youth through sustainable tuna fishing in tropical coastal communities across the world. Our mission is simple. We transform unemployed youth in the coastal communities into Tuna Art contractors that deliver quality tuna. That tuna, we process it under food service quality standards to deliver the quality that the food service companies in America require, so they start buying local. We have new jobs in the market. We're already in the market, and the only requirement for the job is to be strong and energetic, the perfect fit for the youth. Then we start teaching them how to handle tuna and care for the cold. Then we start buying the tuna from them. And with the money we pay them, we give them human values. Why human values? Because these young people need more than money to grow out of poverty. They need human and financial skills. And by making them better humans, they also become more reliable contractors. They are earning more than $400 per month. That's 200% more income than the national average. You see their happy faces. It's the first time in their lives that they're receiving income on tuna fishing. We validated the quality and the price of our product. Our logistical advantage in the American market makes us price competitive, more price competitive, and because of our freshness, our quality is preferred in every category. And we are doing all of these using sustainable practices. Our fishermen use hand lines and direct tuna, so there is no bycatch at all. Our business model is very simple. It's B2B, and we buy the tuna from the contractors, we process the tuna in the local processing plants, our processing plants, and we deliver the tuna to the food service companies. And we focus on a B2C marketing strategy because we have a story that is worth being told. Our traction is that we have become the first local provider of tuna in Guatemala. We already provided tuna to the 2 biggest sushi chains in the country, and we already have purchase intent with the 6 food service companies that operate in my country. That means every single tuna that will be sold and consumed in my country next year will be a tuna that generated a job locally. And we have secured a strategic alliance with a distributor for the US and Mexican market. There's a lot of employment that we will create just next year, almost 300 jobs. And there's a lot of unemployed youth that can become Tuna Art contractors while working with us. The available market is big, and we're going to attain it by opening other Tuna Art nodes in Latin America. We will use a decentralized approach towards processing tuna to keep the local tuna for the local markets and the value that comes with it. And tuna is just the tip of the market. After tuna, we will integrate other fish products that these fishermen can deliver to tap into an additional $2.3 billion market. Tuna Art Corp will generate revenues of over $60 million by 2030 and create more than 10,000 jobs by that time. Our team has the skills, has the passion, has the experience, has the access to market to create success. We just need you now in the equation. For the consumers, for the environment, for the youth, Tuna Art. Thank you.
Mohammed.
Yes?
Thanks a lot, guys. In one of your earliest slides, you sort of quoted one of the fishermen who essentially wrote something along the lines of, you know, they throw all of the tuna that they catch because it has no value. So my anticipation in your presentation was to understand how are you going to elevate the value of the Guatemalan tuna? Because it doesn't seem to me like the problem is creating fishermen, it's actually making the end product desirable in the marketplace.
Yes. The first reason why they don't have a market value for the tuna is because they historically lack the knowledge towards handling tuna. Tuna is a very specific kind of fish. It has red meat, while other fish have white meat. So the first problem, they were not debleeding the tuna. They were keeping the blood inside. And they don't use a very specific technique for quality and the sushi market, that is ikijime. It's a Japanese technique, it's knowledge that they lacked. So not only they are obtaining this knowledge, we're giving it this knowledge, we're also processing the product to deliver it to the food service companies in America the way they want it.
Thanks. Gia?
If you're already owning quality control and sourcing, why did you also decide to own distribution?
The distribution is not done by us. The distribution is done by the food service companies. That's the main core of the food service companies. They distribute products to the restaurants.
So you have partnerships aligned to make sure your distribution channels are effective?
Yes, we secured 6.
Erica?
So given the challenges in your country, is there anyone who would want to actually sabotage you guys and having success against being able to scale?
Okay, could you open slide 29? So right now there are no local competitors in the market. Why? Because historical low fish consumption in Latin America led to no development or big business owners in the fishing industry. So actually we've received a lot of, not sabotage, but a lot of good approach from the government side and from other companies that also distribute fish that like the product. For example, King Kampachi, a partner that is now with us, they distribute another type of fish in the Mexican market, and they want to distribute tuna.
Just to add, the fishing quotas is a really important aspect. By working locally with local employers, we get the priority over the fishing quotas. Right now, the potential competition could come from the actual fishermen that are fishing vessels that are extracting the tuna illegally right now from our coasts. So by doing this legally and with the government, we stick to the fishing quotas, so they give us priority on the fishing illegal quotas.
So the fishing sector, in particular the family-based small scale, is one of the most vulnerable to exploitation, to labor exploitation. So that's where you find child labor, forced labor, awful working conditions, lack of occupational safety and health. So what policies you have in place to avoid these problems?
Yes, could you bring slide 30, please? Okay, one of the first things, they are contractors, so they own their time. They must deliver a certain amount of tuna to us, and by being contractors, they have health and life insurance. So it's a benefit that has never been seen in these places that have been underdeveloped and with informality. So we're starting to bring the formal good things into these areas.
Mohammed? And from a scalability standpoint, can you comment on, are you able to take this model outside of Guatemala, or are there any specific fishery licenses that you need that would not be available in other countries?
Slide 28, please. In respect of business model, we are going to partner with local businessmen that are interested in becoming the partner with us. So we only invest half of what is required. The other partner invests the other half and gives the infrastructure. So we partner with owners of cold infrastructure. Second, we don't do the fishing. The fishing is done by the local artisanal fishermen, so they have priority over the fishing quotas above everything else. And because they are using hand lines, the fishing approach is completely sustainable.
Okay, anything else you got to add? A couple seconds left.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Great, give it up for Tuna Art. Thanks, guys. That way, Alberto. Great job. I'm hungry too. Don't worry. We have lots of food for you upstairs. Okay, folks, we're down to our final team for the evening. One more left, so make sure again, if you have scorecards, if you have a little voting card, get it out. Get ready to sign up your favorite team. If you don't have one, we'll hand one out following this final presentation. This next team, all the way from Bangladesh, Rafiq, I am so sorry, one of the team members unfortunately could not be here. I know he's out there watching online, and he was arguably the best presenter we had in the entire 200-person cohort at the accelerator. However, the rest of the team's not so bad either, and you're gonna be shocked. So give it up for Safe Wheel, Faisal and Maz, come on out. And these guys are reimagining what the healthcare industry could look like from a transportation perspective, bringing ambulance services and on-demand healthcare to rural Bangladesh. They really have an opportunity to change a lot of lives, save lives, and also keep those folks, those youth in those rural areas, in the rural areas with meaningful, dignified work. Safe Wheel from the Bangladesh University of Professionals. Good luck.
July 21st, midnight. Our CEO, Rafiq, his uncle had a road accident. As there is no emergency medical service provider operating in rural Bangladesh, his family could not bring any medical attention to serve his uncle. So Rafiq's father was taking him to the hospital using a local unsafe vehicle. His uncle was bleeding severely, and Rafiq's father could do nothing to stop that. On the way, his father had to witness his own brother dying in his lap. 105 million people in 68,000 villages are suffering and at times dying because of ambulance unavailability. They use these local unsafe vehicles, which are life-threatening, for patient transportation. And to serve them, there are only 1,200 ambulances. That's one ambulance for 88,000 people, most of which is not properly working. And below 7% have paramedic on duty. The root cause to this problem is that the conventional ambulances, they're costly and they cannot reach the narrow village roads. To solve this significant problem, we created SafeWheel, an affordable emergency medical service provider dedicated to serve the rural people of Bangladesh. We designed a tricycle mini ambulance that are 10 times cheaper than the regular ones and can reach everywhere in the village. Each ambulance serves 15 villages at a maximum response time of 20 minutes. In one ambulance, we employ 3 drivers and 3 medical assistants working in 3 different shifts, 24/7. We are proud we hire youth from the locality so that the youth do not have to shift their city. We empower them with government training, and then they start saving lives by joining SafeWheel. We have 2 solutions. The first one is a regular ambulance service. Let's say Taslima Begum is expecting her first baby. When the pregnancy cramp starts, in current situation, she'd have to visit the hospital using a local unsafe vehicle. If she wants an ambulance, she'd have to wait for hours for the ambulance to come from a far district city, charging her $25. But with SafeWheel, she can now easily get an ambulance with just 20 minutes, have the cost, a medical assistant with her all the time. Our second solution is a doorstep emergency medical treatment. Here you can call us a mobile healthcare facility. Let's say Halima has a minor injury in her hand. She doesn't require visiting the hospital, but she needs emergency medical attention. In current situation, she visits the nearest medical seller who does not have a proper medical knowledge, costs much, at times provide wrong treatment. With SafeWheel, her treatment is just a call away. Our medical assistant will reach her home and treat her at a very affordable price. Our third source of revenue is an ambulance subscription package for the hospitals. Among 10,000 rural hospitals, 88% of them do not have an ambulance. With just $200 per month, they can use our ambulance to transport patients from the hospitals to the home. With 40% utilization rate, the revenue that one ambulance generates, cutting down the cost, we reach break-even for per ambulance in 6 months. One ambulance has a lifetime of 5 years, so in its own lifetime, one SafeWheel ambulance can generate profit to buy 7 more. All of this is not just a concept anymore. We have been validating the whole thing in our last 4 months of operation in 140 villages of Bangladesh. The local government division of Bangladesh, who are our operations partner, have provided us with 10 such tricycles. We modified them, and all of them are running right now. We are proud and humbled to have partners like local government division, UNDP Bangladesh, and the largest data company in Bangladesh to work with us. We started our operation with just 2 ambulances. Today, we have 10 of them, and we have served exactly 1,542 patients, including children, pregnant women, and elderly citizens. We have generated a revenue of over $7,000 and proudly employed 24 youth locally. Today we are here. The next year, we launch 25 ambulances. In the year 5, we go 600 ambulances. At the end of 10 years, we earn a revenue of $350 million with the 3,000 ambulances that we have, employing 18,500 youth locally and serving 6 million patients annually. Just like in the past 6 minutes, we could have served 66 lives. We have a passionate team who have expertise in community organizing, startup, and healthcare sector in Bangladesh, backed by national and international advisors like Christopher, who have experience in several similar fields in Uganda to minimize the gap in our business. We need all of you with us to save lives. So by investing in us, you're not just helping a business to grow, you're giving hope to millions of people to live for the next day. so that no one like me would have to come here and tell stories about how our loved one died. Help us move our wheels, help us save their lives. Thank you.
It's going to start us off. Great presentation. Gia?
Okay, so I have a few questions, but we can just do one and then.
Do one at a time.
Yeah.
We know you're a transportation expert, okay, in Pakistan.
So my first question is, how are you sourcing these vehicles?
So currently we're sourcing our vehicle from China, Guangzhou, Kawasaki Motors. The current price is 1120, and with the tax, shipping cost and everything, we modified the ambulance, and the total cost is $2,820.
So you're retrofitting the ambulances yourself?
Yeah.
And then what's the maintenance, fuel, and driver expense?
The fuel maintenance and driving expense, we keep it in operations. So our fuel maintenance and equipment cost for ambulances, it's around $311 for one ambulance in 1 month.
Okay, let's go on to another question. Erica?
So I'm just curious about your sourcing the skilled labor, because we need skilled drivers and we need skilled healthcare providers. Now I know it's not a litigious place like by the US, but safety both from the healthcare and the driving, how do you ensure that?
Safety is one of the major issues that we care about. We have a safety code which is created by consulting with medical professionals, engineers, and ambulance industry experts. If any of the vehicle fail to meet those standards, we send the vehicle to the local workshop and regain the health of the vehicle, because that's primary job for us.
Liz and then Bashar.
Thank you for addressing this huge issue in the world of access to healthcare for many, many people. I wondered if you have mapped out and taken any learning from many other initiatives in your own countries and similar countries that have the same issue. So what's better about your initiative than what's already out there?
So I will answer it in two parts. What happened in my country and what happens in other countries in the international area. So in Ghana and Nigeria, there were few projects. Even in Uganda, Chris Adegega, he has this project. But what happens is they are NGO type project that is non-profit, so they cannot scale without grants. And what happens in my country? Why my country's rural area is already open? If there are ambulance companies working in Dhaka, why they are not in the rural market? Because the regular ambulances is costly, and they cannot charge what they charge in Dhaka. Now, if they keep charging more, rural people cannot pay, so they cannot break even their ambulance. What we did, we minimized the cost by 10%, but we reduced the, our profit by 10%. So by 50%. So what happens is we can break even within 6 months for one ambulance. It gives us scalability. One ambulance can make 7 more. So we can buy one ambulance, and if we're pushing it, within 5 years, we have 8. Now, if I start with 100, you can just calculate the number.
Okay, let's go Bashar and then Mohammed.
Is liability an issue for you? I mean, you're already dealing with patients who are sick or injured. Can you get insurance coverage?
We have a budget for liability and vehicle insurance currently. And it is $100 per month for one vehicle.
Mohammed?
Is the main challenge the logistics of getting healthcare professionals out, or do you actually have a fundamental problem with not enough supply of healthcare professionals?
So currently the training that we provide, it's provided by our government and UN specialists. It's CHCP training, Community Health Care Provider. It's for the last mile of the country. In developing country like Bangladesh, they are experts in Dhaka, but for the last mile, it's difficult. So UN and our government provides training, 12-week training, CHCP training to the people. It's 6-week theoretical and 6-week practical. With this training, they can deal with emergencies and in the basic situation. Now, sometimes what happens, there are less doctors in the hospitals and medical assistants. Those CHCP trainers, they sit in the hospitals and treat people.
Time.
We are training.
Thank you guys so much. Give it up for Safe Wheel. All right, guys, another round of applause for all 6 final startups. Great job, guys. Great job. I also want to recognize, if you are an expert, a mentor, traveled to our accelerator, served as a judge in the regional, I want you to stand up so we can recognize you. We have a network of over 20,000 judges, mentors, experts, and they're here around the room today that produce the type of presentations you saw and the impact that you saw. So help me thank you guys from the bottom of our entire Hult Prize team. I'm going to go ahead so the judges can get a head start. Why don't the judges stand up? Please, you're going to be led out of the room to your deliberation. I know it won't be easy. Okay, I'm going to do some closing thank yous while you guys are on your way out. And let's give them a round of applause for the amazing judges. So that wraps up, folks, the first part of our program at the 10th anniversary Hult Prize. And as you can see, these young people, they bring it. They come with passion, they come with innovation, and they come with solutions, which they're actually implementing on the ground. And before I ask you to take a look at those scorecards, please, ushers, start handing out scorecards, and I'll give some instruction on those. I do want to do some closing thank yous. Chris Walters, gosh, without you, we couldn't move anything. Again, Lucy, I know you've been recognized already. Lucy Brigham from the UNOP, but without you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much. And I do want to recognize the global Hult Prize staff. Most of them are volunteers. We have 100 or so that are not. The rest of the tens of thousands, they're students who come together. They're out there watching. I want to really thank you guys on the bottom, on behalf of the entire team, our board, and everybody involved. Hult Prize could be nothing without the staff, so thank you guys. And I also want to remember, let's give those 3 a round of applause. I do also want to just take a moment, being around 10 years, there's some people who are not with us, have gone on to a better place since launching Hult Prize that have been really critical. One of those people is Dean Hancock. He was my dean, William Hancock, when I was a student. I had the entire faculty telling me no, and him and Henrik, if you're in the room, thank you. Henrik was our dean, Henrik Totterman, along with Dean Hancock, pushed the Hult Prize forward, and Professor Hancock passed away a few years ago. I just want to pay some respects to him. And of course, our beloved Chris Wayne, who unexpectedly died last year. He's a partner with Mark and Peak, one of the organizers of Hult Prize. And a lot of you don't know, Chris was the one that always snuck the pictures in with President Clinton and helped us get the approvals from President Clinton in our early days before we had a lot of traction. And Chris will always be remembered for somebody who helped make the Hult Prize come to life. So I want to just take a moment to recognize those people. Okay, folks, you don't have an easy job in front of you. Please don't take it lightly. You'll find a voting card. If you are part of a Hult Prize team, please note that on the card. And guys, we want you guys to vote as well. So make sure all of the finalists and all of you that are here from the Hult Prize Accelerator Founder Circle, please also vote. If you're not from a team, leave the team name portion blank and put your name and the name of the team from those 6 that you'd like to see take home the $1 million prize. So ushers, please hand out those cards. Who does not have a card? Give me lights, please. Give me lights. Annalise, we need lights. I've got a lot of people in the front with no cards. Annalise, can we get the lights on? Thanks. Okay, raise your hands if you do not have cards. Okay, this entire front section does not have voter cards. And what you're going to do, folks, you're going to see two ushers at the back doors. You're going to take those voter cards and you're going to drop them off in the two boxes in the back. Okay? If you don't have a card, keep your hand up, and we'll have some ushers handing out voter cards. Pal, do we have cards going out? Okay. All right, folks, that's a wrap for me. Please stay in this room until your voter card is done. We'll immediately break from here to go upstairs to the DDR, where we'll have a great reception for you, some music, until the jury is done deliberating and President Clinton will deliver closing remarks. That concludes the first session of the 10th Annual Hult Prize. Folks, I'm Ahmed Ashgar. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you. How's everyone doing? This is the part of the year where my voice goes completely to zero. So it's a pleasure for me to welcome you guys to the final portion of our evening. We've had 6 unbelievable startups come through. They've each inspired us, they've challenged the status quo, and they've really shown us that solving the challenge of youth unemployment can be something as simple as an idea. So our next part of the program, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to announce our 2020 Hult Prize Challenge. We've got tens of thousands of campus directors and participants around the world waiting for that announcement. And then we're going to follow that right up with the announcement of our 10th anniversary Hult Prize $1 million recipient. And to do that, we're going to ask somebody who's been a champion of the Hult Prize since the very beginning and graciously gives us his time to not only pick up the phone and help us connect previous winners with opportunity, but somebody who we're lucky enough to be able to have present. And with that, with no further ado, I'd like to welcome the 42nd President of the United States of America, William Jefferson Clinton, to the stage.
Thank you. First of all, I think we need to give Ahmad a big hand for that outfit he's got on tonight. And even though we're not appropriately dressed, we think you're worthy of formal attire too. I want to thank Bertil and Philip Hult and the Hult family, Stephen Hodges, the president of the Hult International Business School, Lucy Brigham and the UN Office of Partnerships, Mark Poncher and the Empire team, all the students who organized around the world, and the distinguished team of judges whom I just met with, and they were raving about all of you and complaining about how hard it was to pick a winner. This is the 10th anniversary challenge. For several years, we had the winner announced at the Clinton Global Initiative meeting, and since we moved to the UN, I've enjoyed coming here and seeing all of you. In the last decade, the Hult Prize has brought together people from more than 1,500 schools in 121 countries on issues that include climate change, malnutrition, early childhood education, the refugee crisis, and more. One of the judges this year was on the winning team that proposed using crickets to alleviate the nutrition shortage, and they're now in their third year, and I was offered a package of crickets. Now, for any of you who, like me, try to follow a vegan diet, I have to ask you, should I or should I not use that as an excuse to avoid crickets? I think this challenge is really important this year. Solving the challenge of global youth unemployment, because we already have a crisis level of unemployment among young people in country after country, because we know that stagnation leads to outrage, division, and resentment, and people don't make very good decisions when they're angry and resentful and when they feel stuck. And that's a big reason for a lot of the global negative populism. I'm not against populism if the definition is giving more people a chance to have their fair share of the economic pie and giving power to people at the grassroots level. But if it's negative, that is, if it can only operate if there's another person that's not all that much different from you who has to be the designated enemy, then we're asking for trouble. And this will become more important because there is, well, I wouldn't say a consensus, but it's pretty close to a consensus, that the rise of artificial intelligence combined with robotics and nanotechnology may make this revolution that we're already involved in the first technological change in human history that kills more jobs than it creates. I'm still not convinced there'll just be different kinds of jobs, but we will be presented with all kinds of challenges which all these young people have tried to address in discrete and achievable ways. Now, I'm going to cut short this speech and get to the chafe, the meat of the coconut. But don't forget, 75 million young people around the world are unemployed. They're mostly in poor countries, yes, but they also exist in large numbers in wealthier countries where the economic opportunities are not evenly spread. And they are contributing to this us versus them mentality, which is a dead bang loser in an interdependent world. I'll just give you one example. We just had a big hurricane hit our part of the world. It devastated the Bahamas, hit parts of our country pretty hard. You can say all you want to about pulling people apart. Nature will not permit it. Climate change will not permit it. We have to face the fact that we have to solve these problems because we're going to rise or fall together. We also should look at the scientific evidence that diverse groups make better decisions than homogeneous ones and lone geniuses. It's just a fact. So, let's get on. Guess what? I have been strictly instructed, so you will know, not to announce the winner until I say what's going to happen next year. 2020 will mark the 50th anniversary of Earth Day around the world and the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. Thanks to Earth Day, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and the larger environmental movement of the last several decades, environmental consciousness around the world is greater than it has ever been. But still, our planet continues to be degraded. Not a single country that signed on to the Paris Accord is on track to meet its commitments. And the United States still the second largest emitter of all, actually withdrew from it, much to my embarrassment. Something which I will do my best to see is corrected in the nearest possible future. The Hult Prize will challenge teams from around the world to build new businesses, to make positive contributions toward both the environment and the economy, with the goal of reaching 1 million more consumers within a decade in a way that reduces greenhouse gas emissions and reduces the threat of climate change. The prize is not simply looking for ways to make current business practices less environmentally damaging, but for transformative new models that make a positive net impact on the environment with every sale completed, every dollar earned, every decision made. This is a very important challenge. For far too long, defenders of the status quo have argued they simply can't afford the economic burden placed on them by pursuing clean air, safe water, abundant wildlife, and a decent future for our children and grandchildren. All the evidence shows the opposite, but people keep saying this. What's good for the environment ultimately will be good for the economy, because you can't have an economy without an environment. And it may be essential to the preservation of our race. So we'll have fun next year. But for now, we have a very interesting winner to solve the youth unemployment problem. And I'd like to ask the judges and the Hult executive to come to the stage so we can announce this year's winner.
Into the streets, we're coming out. We never sleep,
I'm
never
always
get
impressed by the
tired.
innovation
Through urban
of
fields,
the ideas that young people bring to this prize, but this year was, I think, truly exceptional. As I said, the judges had a difficult choice to make, but they have made it. Are we ready? The winning team is Rutopia from Tec de Monterrey.
into the streets, we're coming out. We never sleep, never get tired. Through urban fields and suburban life. Turn the crowd up now, we'll never back down. Shoot down the skyline, watch it on prime time. Turn up the love now, listen up now, turn up the love.
Before we give them their prize, I want to say something about this. This is important because it's a twofer or a threefer or maybe more. Their proposal is to build a platform that enables indigenous tourist cooperatives to create and sell tours online, allowing travelers to find and live biocultural experiences as they do. And this will support indigenous communities around the world. It will also help youth to find things to do and to be rewarded for them without undermining the way of life and the economic and environmental imperatives that have driven them to the living patterns they now observe. And this is going to be really important for people who go with their eyes open. They will see how people who live in circumstances where they have no courts, no judges, resolve disputes. They will see how people who have to live with their neighbors resolve wrongdoings. They will understand that all the things we think are so special about us may not be, after all, in a good way. And everybody that comes away from one of these trips, I think, will be the better for it. So they've actually devised a way for the tourists to learn more than they normally do, and to bring us all closer together across not just race and religion and gender and all the things that we read about in the press, but vast historical cultural differences that will affirm our common humanity. So let's give them a big hand.
Let's go, judges, please. Thank you.